and welcome to the Point to Rise show. This is your host, Susanne, former international ballerina that found her passion in mindset, business, and technology, and is today the founder of Rise Media. It is my purpose to use all the experiences of my past to create a better, financially sustainable future for the performing arts industry. And that starts with every single one of us. I believe that being you is your superpower. And I am here to guide you, empower you, inspire you, and give you all the resources you need to rise above what you think you're capable of. Every week, I'll bring you 3 shows featuring guests, collaboration, and mini episodes to ensure that you have the support in your journey as a performer. I want you to know that you are not alone. Stop chasing and start creating. Your success starts now, here with you. So let's go. Well, and we're back. Rachel, welcome back to the show. I don't know, I lost count, and who cares anyways. We have a workshop coming up, so we are on this podcast and we are going to talk about what our community and the expansion of our community can really take away from this workshop on June 6th. So do you want to start with what we're talking about this time?
Yes. We're talking about the F word. What? Can you guess what it is? It's fear. We are talking about fear because I think really we're seeing in this industry is we're moving from a place of fear. And then we're seeing these results that are being created because we are in a fearful mindset, fearing failure, fearing even success, fearing judgment, fearing anything, right? When we really break it down, I think there's a lot of fear around so much, and being aware of what you are afraid of, right? Being aware that fear is driving your actions can really allow you to connect the dots backwards of why the results are in your life or in your life. And I think that's one of the biggest connections that people are going to get in this workshop is being able to identify, where have I been taking action out of fear? And where has that fear been coming from? Where did that story come from? And I think that's one of the most amazing things about these workshops for us is that people get to leave with such a deep understanding of why they're doing what they're doing, why they think what they think, right? Even just bringing that awareness. And so the reason we're talking about fear is because I think we're really seeing it in this performing arts and as a whole, but as on an individual level of like, it's really been the driving factor. And that hasn't been very useful for us. Like it only gets us to a certain point, but the sustainability that we are both working towards, that we're wanting to bring to this community, is never going to come from fear-based action. It's always going to come from love. So I think that is why I'm so excited to talk about it. And that's why we are really passionate about bringing this topic and talking about it more. Because I think we also have this stigma that like, we shouldn't be afraid. And that if we are afraid, there's something wrong, right? Like, don't you think so?
Oh gosh, are you kidding me? I think I just learned, and I just really understood and departed from the belief that there will be a time where I am fearless. Fearless doesn't mean the absence of fear. Fearless means that we know how to navigate through the fear. We know how it shows up physically in our body, how it can numb us and make our brain foggy, how it can get us into a state of complete freeze, how it can actually become a pleasure that we're leaning towards all the time because the chemicals that are being produced when fear is coming in, our body gets actually addicted to. So it's not about becoming or going for the absence of fear. It is understanding why fear is showing up. What are the physical signs? By the way, they're the same as when we're excited. So all it really takes is a reframing in our brain. And believe me, it so works. As somebody that is really has established a great fear of flying and gets on a plane, 4 or 5 times a year, it's a matter of reframing that fear. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're talking about a little bit of, why fear was actually installed in us. I just also learned that our brain is actually not wired for success. It's wired for survival. And therefore, it is so easy for us to go with the fear and lean into it because it's so much more familiar than actually breaking through the fear. And when I say breaking through, it's just understanding why it's there, how it feels, and what kind of tools you can use on a daily basis to really structure new neural pathways in your brain that will enable you in every situation that you will encounter in your life to move through the fear and make it your friend.
Yeah. And why do you think this is like so important as artists in particular to talk about fear? Like, why is this something that we even need to dive into?
That is such a big question. And I don't have a one sentence answer for that because it has a lot of levels, I would say. Let me start with this. I think that the industry is operating from a fear-based level because it is consistently chasing money. Okay. When we are consistently operating from fear, we're telling ourselves that we're not enough. We're in a survival state over and over and over again. And that's how we lead. That's what we believe. That's how we act. That's how we plan seasons. That's how we lead our artists. Okay. So we haven't really talked or even opened up the conversation on where is our energetic state as an industry altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And what would it look like if we change that? And then if we're looking at individuals, yes, there's some fearless people in there, and there's some people that have, despite acting from fear, gotten to a certain level. And I dare you to actually look at what you could not arrange, but you could reach in your career if you were to let go. Like, is being in one company and having the principal title there, is that your end all be all? Or is there more to it? And I can tell you right now, there is more to it. And the fear of you thinking that you're not big enough, that you're at a certain age, that you can't go get another job, the fear of what others think about you, the fear of failure. These are all the fears that can show up in so many little things. Like they come dressed in the most beautiful costumes and outfits, truly.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not stripping them off of what they're wearing, we'll never get to the root of it. So these are just two examples why it is so important to talk about fear. I think the abuse that is really happening in the industry, and we're starting, when I say abuse, it's not just physical or sexual abuse. Like I'm talking about the mental abuse, the belief that you have to sacrifice everything in order to become a well-known, successful artist, comes from a place of fear, of not being enough, never being enough. Never enough. Pops in my head. I'm sorry, I can't sing, but maybe you should do that. Oh yeah.
Yes.
So, but you know what I mean? Like there's so many levels to, and so many areas where fear is actually showing up. And I truly believe, and you and I talk about this all the time, these fears is exactly what's holding the entire industry, and with that, every single individual back from evolution, back from rising to that next level. We've been the same for so many decades. I mean, good for you. And now, like, if not now, when? It's time. It doesn't have to be Monday. It doesn't have to be the first of the year. It doesn't have to be the first of the month. You can start with something new over and over and over again. For that matter, every single minute. You just need to be conscious of it. Right. And that's what you and I are doing. We're raising the consciousness, the level of awareness that the fears that you have bought into, that you are limiting yourself around it, that you're selling yourself on, is really what's in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in the way of change too.
Oh, absolutely. Because if it's in the way of you growing and changing, it's in the way of the industry as a whole growing and changing, right? Because it just starts, it really starts with us, right? Which is what we talk about all the time. Like we are really changing this industry from the inside out. And so it's got to start with you, right? And it may be easier to see within the industry where fear is, where we're seeing companies be led by fear. And it might be harder, as you're saying, like these fears might be dressed up in these beautiful costumes and we're not able to individually see it, which is why we're holding these workshops, which is why we're offering this perspective, this ability to have one-on-one coaching, and even to be able to be in a group setting where you're seeing someone else be coached through something and discover a fear. There are so many moments, like even in the last workshop, one of the participants said like, wow, watching that, like watching the other person get coached, like brought so much value to them, right? Like there were so many light bulbs that were going off, which is why I think our workshop setting and why being there in the room is so important, because you have that perspective, you have that space to be able to see, oh, I didn't realize that actually this was coming from a place of not feeling like enough, which is fear, right? This is coming from a place of, but I just want to get by, which is fear, right?
Yeah.
It's all these things of like, oh, well, that's fear too. Oh, that's fear too. Oh, that's fear too. And it's showing up in all these places. And it's also, I want to say, the difference of like, just because the fear is there doesn't mean that it's automatically going to get in your way, because as you said before, living fearless, living without fear isn't really the goal, right? Because if you're living without fear, you're probably not getting out of your comfort zone at all, right? You're not trying to change, you're not trying to evolve. So fear is actually a good sign that you are getting out of your comfort zone, but then it's empowering yourself and becoming aware that you have the choice whether or not to listen to that fear and revert back to the same place, which is what we've been seeing the industry do over and over again, or to lean into the fear, know that, hey, this is a good sign that fear is coming up. It means I'm growing. It means I'm trying something new. I'm going to lean in and keep going, right? Like, what are we making fear a sign of? What are you on an individual level making fear a sign of? Are you making it the sign that you shouldn't be doing this? Are you making it a sign that, oh, it's actually my intuition telling me that this isn't the right thing for me? Like, are you confusing it for something else? We're going to really dive into, what are you individually making it mean? What are we as a collective collectively making it mean? And how can we, again, like you said, just reframe it to actually allow us to move forward and become friends with fear? Because ultimately it's always going to be there. And I think you saying that, like, learning one day you're not going to just become fearless, and fear is never going to come with you. Knowing that, believing that, like, fear is always going to be with you. So it's not about focusing on getting rid of it. It's focusing on moving with it. So it's completely changing that focus for you.
Focus, right? We talked about this last month.
Right. It's like it's all connected or something.
Yeah. Oh. I wanted to say, and you phrased it so beautifully, perspective is everything. Mm-hmm. Everything has two sides at least. And we tend to look at the side that is more familiar. And when we're talking about fear, we tend to look at fear as, something I don't want to feel, therefore I'm not putting myself out there. Fear, I don't want to challenge my right for survival or my right to be loved, to be seen, to be heard. And therefore, we're not leaning into the fear. And then the other side of fear is actually leaning into it means, oh, well, maybe we can learn something new. Maybe it's okay to not be great in the beginning. How about to make mistakes? How about to hear a no or 100 or 1,000? That's okay too, as long as we are able to do the inner work that is really, really important. So we know for us that we are good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, by the way, every fear comes down to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I share a little story?
No.
So this week I had my first week of rehearsals and I was offered dance captain in the first day, which was so exciting. And immediately there were some thoughts that were being offered of imposter syndrome of like, are you really ready for this? But then of course it was like, yes, this is exactly what I was wanting. I'm so grateful. But this week didn't come without its challenges. I took on my leadership role. I was stepping into it and I misstep. Took a misstep, and I was talked to by the choreographer afterwards. And she was like, hey, let's talk about how that went. Cause I spoke to the cast in almost like scolding them to not be talking as much. And while that has been seen as very normal in our world, right, of like being scolded, that's not what this team is wanting to create. That's not the environment that this team is wanting to create. And so I was given feedback of this can't happen again. We need it to be like this instead. And I was given feedback, and I could have very easily then come to rehearsal the next day stuck in fear of making a mistake, because I was using my past as like, oh, well, I already made a mistake. I'm already a bad dance captain, whatever that is. So had I stayed with fear, there's no way I would have been able to continuously step into my role as a leader while figuring out and discovering a new way of coming to it that was an extension from the team, right? Like knowing that fear was there of making a mistake and just kind of allowing it to be on the back burner, but knowing where my intention was it's to walk through and like lead with love, right? I don't want to lead with fear. I don't want people to fear me, which is kind of where I was coming from in that like scolding, right? Which is what we're taught. But instead it was knowing that I still got to show up as a leader, and I didn't let fear take me back into not stepping into that leadership role. And this is the work, this is the awareness that we're bringing to the workshop. And this is why it's so important, because when you allow fear to really be driving your car, you don't show up, and you also don't get to learn the lessons that are being presented to you.
Right.
It gets in the way of your resourcefulness. It gets in the way of your curiosity. It gets in the way of figuring out a new way. Like when you have fear so present that you can't see anything else, possibility is like non-existent. But
and creativity is also impossible, which in the arts, I mean, come on, that's its number one thing that it does. It's all about creativity. And yet we're so fearful of creating, doing something wrong, misstepping, misspeaking. Good job, girl, because that's hard. It's hard to take that feedback and then say, okay, I'm not going to let my past blind me to my future. So yeah. Well done.
And I just, thank you. And it's like, you take personal responsibility for it, right? Like I was like, okay, great. Like I absolutely, this was what happened. This is the way that I spoke. I'm not going to do that again. Let's find a new way. And it's like, it all just gets to coexist. But when we're so focused on not having fear, right? Or even just so focused on the fear rather than on the creation of something new, right? Or like fear of judgment from my cast, fear of judgment from my team, fear of judgment from myself. Like there are so many opportunities to be scared that if we were to focus on all of them, all of our energy would be gone, right? We'd be exhausted.
Oh yeah.
So there would be no more energy left to actually create. And I think it's even that like shift of just expecting that fear is going to be there. It's not even like if it's going to be there, it's just like when it's going to be there. And you're like, okay, yeah, you're here. I knew you were going to be here. We're going to keep going forward.
And that takes out the uncertainty too, that we're
yes,
in so much effort and energy, the anticipation of something bad to happen, right? When we worry, we manna or we pray for the wrong stuff to happen.
right.
So then when we're putting our fear and our thoughts into the unwanted, we're actually creating it. And we're more exhausted than actually reframing, changing the perspective, turning over the coin and looking at it from, well, what's the possibility here? And I think that is one major thing that performing arts organizations, and with that performing artists, because they've never been taught how to look at both sides of the coin, that's where the biggest opportunity is.
Mm-hmm.
Reframe to stop living in fear and opening them up to solutions. Yeah. Okay. Well, if this conversation has not convinced you to join us, I don't know what else to do. Understand that fear can be your friend, and there is a lot of work that you personally can do. We are giving you 2.5 hours of group coaching, one-on-one coaching. We're going to take you through the science of fear. We're taking you through meditation. We're taking you through what it really means to be part of a community that also wants to grow. When we're part of people that are maybe just a tiny inch above, or not above, ahead of us, or even behind us, we really rise up together when we're giving ourselves the opportunity to do so. I want to share something like that. Mind blowing to me. I got a DM. Look at this. My dinner, it only was $34. It's like, great, awesome. I am so glad you can do this. Hey, next workshop is on the 6th, $15. Can't wait to have you there. Oh, I don't have money for that. So my call to action here is, I understand that we all have priorities, and I'm not here to argue your priorities. I'm here to remind you that self-development is just as nourishing as food is. It is something that you as a human being, as an artist, require in order to become the very best version of you.
Mm-hmm.
So $15, $34, it doesn't matter what the price tag is. If it's uncomfortable for you, if you're questioning whether or not you should be investing in yourself, that's a hard yes for me, because if you're uncomfortable, that is exactly where you need to go. So my plug, my personal plug, stop worrying about what other people think. Stop worrying that you will not return those $15. It is most likely the least investment you will ever take in yourself with the highest return.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's such an amazing addition. And when you look at where you are right now, if you still have that feeling of there's more that I want to do, or sometimes I want to do this, but something just gets in the way, or like I talk myself out of it, that's fear. That's why we're talking about this. So if you are feeling like you're not where you want to be on any level truly of your life, but especially in your performing arts career, if you have any bit of like, I wish I were here, this is going to help you. Like, this is going to help you get here. And it's going to help you because you are putting in all of the work. You're doing all of the right things, right? We just need to add in some more tools, right? Nothing has gone wrong.
No.
It's just, we get to add something else. Like, we get to try another thing. And so let this be the community, and let this be the workshop that you actually take that leap and decide to add in the thing that could change your life and could change your career. What if $15 could do that for you? That'd be pretty cool.
That is such a powerful question. What if? So we cannot wait to have you. If this conversation resonates with you, and you want to come and be a part of this workshop, all you have to do is either go into the show notes, or just go into either Rachel's or my Pointerize bio and click the link there. Just that it really literally is like a 2-step process. Super, super easy. You're booked in, and we will see you on the 6th.
Yes. And it's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And again, if you have any questions, if you want to talk to us about it, you can DM either of us. We are here to talk to you about it. And if you're just so excited and you're ready, make sure to bring a friend with you. Because again, as we said, like, this change happens from the inside out. So the more people that are coming, that are leaning into personal development, that are leaning into empowering themselves to have a choice, the faster this community and the faster this industry is going to change, because it really starts with us. So invite your friends, invite everyone. We want this community to be as inclusive and as big as possible, because the more, the merrier, right?
That's right. Thanks,
Mhm.
my love.
Of
Yay.
course.
Well,
Yay.
we'll be back soon, right? Like, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. So soon. We will be back, if not earlier than next month, to talk about the next workshop, because you know that we are always going to be here talking about something new. And also, if you want to be talking about something else, if you have a suggestion for our next workshop after fear, let us know, because we are here to serve you. We are here to serve the community. So if there is something that you feel like you really want to learn more about, you want to dive into, you want to get some coaching on, you want to have an exclusive meditation just for that topic, bring it to us, because we would love to serve you in every way that you want.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And we will see you and listen to us next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.